Hello everyone, welcome to the online lecture series on Verilog HDL. So, in the previous lecture we had looked in terms of importance of HDLs and what are the current trends which are going on in terms of HDLs. So, in today's lecture we shall look in terms of hierarchical modeling and what are the different types of design methodologies which have been adopted in the industries. That we are going to discuss in today's session. Okay. So, the learning outcomes from this particular class is that at the end of this session a student will be able to explain the different types of hierarchical modeling concepts. So, let us look into what are those hierarchical modeling which have been adopted in the industries. If you go on to any industries, the same type of approaches will be done in order to whenever a team gets a project. Okay. So, basically there are two different types of design methodologies. One is a top down approach, or you can call it as top down design methodology, and one more is bottom up approach, or you can call it as bottom up design methodologies. So, let us look in terms of the design methodologies. What actually these are. We will be taking an example. Okay. So, first let us understand what are these, and then with an example we can understand in a better way. So, let us look into top down design methodology. Now, if you look at this, suppose we have looked in terms of typical design flow, right. So, once the customer comes and then once he gives the specification, based on that we are going to come up with the behavioral model. Once your behavioral model is ready, and then we are going to what we are going to be implementing in terms of RTL design, right. So, this methodology when it comes in picture is that once your specification is ready and design methodology is ready, the approach to design, how to design that particular behavioral model, there will come across this, whether I should go for bottom up approach or whether I should go for top down approach, that is going to be decided based on the methodology. See, now if you look at top down design methodology, here you can observe that this is the main module, and then the main modules will be further divided into what? These modules will be further divided into sub modules, and the sub modules will be divided into sub modules unless and until we get this leaf cell. So, what is this leaf cell? What is this sub module, and then what is this main module, that we are going to that can be well understood with an example. Okay. So, first we will be having what in terms of top down design methodology, we will be having what we will be having main module, and from this main module we are going to decide whether I should go for what type of sub blocks I should decide in this sub module part, so that I can achieve this main module. So, once our sub blocks are ready, how these sub blocks, suppose if you are having if you do not have, if you have not come across this leaf cell, then these sub blocks will be further divided into sub blocks. Okay. That you can call it as sub blocks 1 or sub blocks 2, something like that, unless and until leaf cell. So, leaf cell is what? Leaf cell is nothing but it is in terms of gates and then flip flops. Unless and until we achieve our design in terms of gates and flip flops, the methodology will not stop here. Okay. The opposite or the vice versa of the design, what top down design methodology we have done. So, that is nothing but what? Bottom up approach. In bottom up approach, we will not be knowing what is going to be the main module. Main module we will be knowing how to achieve this main module, that is going to be done in terms of leaf cells. We will be having these leaf cells. From the leaf cell, by integrating different types of leaf cells or by integrating different types of gates, we are going to come up with sub module part. from sub module we are going to integrate different types of sub modules, so that I can achieve my main module. Now, let us look in terms of an example over here. So, for an example we have taken what? We have taken 4-bit triple carry adder. So, what do you mean by this 4-bit triple carry adder? Okay, a 4-bit triple carry adder is nothing but a counter. Actually we are going to take an example of 4-bit, sorry for that, 4-bit triple carry counter. So, a counter, what it does? 4-bit triple carry counter, it is going to count from 0 to 15 or 0 to f. If you have convert your 4-bit in terms of binary, or if you convert that in terms of hexadecimal, maximum what we can have is f, right. So, this counter, it is going to count from 0 to f, or we can in terms of binary what we can call, it is going to count from 0 0 0 0 to 1 1 1 1. So, how actually this is an asynchronous circuit. Okay, this is not a synchronous circuit, 4-bit triple carry counter. Okay. So, this is just a black box, I do not know what is inside this. For this, since this is an sequential circuit, I need clock as an input and then I need some reset. Since I am having 4-bit, so I will be having what? Total number of 4 number of outputs I will be having. So, one is clock and one more is reset, and then Q0, Q1, Q2 and then Q3. Okay. So, now how we are going to design this? So, usually a 4-bit triple carry counter is designed in terms of T flops. So, I have taken one T flop. So, I have given the clock input for this T flop. So, there is no input for this thing, that we will come to know once the design is ready. First, let us understand how actually this ripple carry counter works. So, clock is being fed to the first flip flop, and the output what we are having over here, the output of this particular flip flop is being fed to what? It is being fed to as an input clock for the next flip flop. Okay. So, here what we can have is that since this flip flop is not at all dependent on the clock input what we have given, what I can say is that this is not synchronized, this particular flip flop is not synchronized with the clock. I can call this circuit as what? Asynchronous. Since it is totally independent of clock, I can call the whole circuit as what? Asynchronous in nature. Again what I am doing? Again we will be taking the same flip flop output. This output is being fed as an input for this particular flop, and again the same thing goes on. Okay. So, this is how the circuit looks like, a 4-bit triple carry counter. First we are going to feed the clock only for the first flip flop, and the outputs are being fed to what? The next flip flops. Now, you can observe here, you can observe that here we have given a bubble. This means what? The flip flops will be triggered only at what? Only at positive edge or negative edge, right. Since there is a bubble over here for all the flip flops, okay. Since there is a bubble, what we can call it as, this particular counter, it is a negative edge triggered counter. Okay. So, now what I can have is that this flip flop will turn on only at neg edge of the clock. Okay. Now, let us we have given reset signal. Let us since I have not put any bar over here, what I can tell is that this is a positive or active high reset I can call. Now, let us look in terms of what actually is the 4-bit triple carry counter. Let us try to understand it in terms of timing waveforms. So, first what I am going to draw, I will be drawing a clock signal. So, let me take this clock signal. As we said, this particular this thing is here, we can observe that this is what? It is bubble in nature. So, I will call this whole circuit as negative edge triggered, and negative edge triggered in the sense what? It is going to trigger at this particular point. Okay. And next triggering point will be where? It is going to be here, and the next triggering point will be here. Only when from high to low, when it is going at that particular time, your flip flops will be triggered and the output will be driven. Okay. Rest all the time the outputs will remain what? The outputs will remain constant. Okay. So, I will make sure that my reset is low all the time, and one more condition what I am keeping is that I am keeping all my inputs all my outputs what I am having, that is Q0 to Q3, all these outputs initial condition is what? I have considered that initial condition all are 0. So, when the clock is fed at this particular instant of time, this flip flop is going to trigger, the first flip flop, right. So, when the flush triggering in the sense what? We have used T flip flop. So, at the triggering point, whatever the previous output what we were having, that is going to be inverted. Since we have taken what? We have taken initial input or initial output is 0 what we have considered. So, at neg edge this got inverted and then it has been 1. So, next triggering point where it will be? It will be at the neg edge of the next clock cycle. So, again it has become what? It has become 0. Now, you can observe that here this is acting like a clock, okay, and this clock is being fed as an input for this clock, this flip flop, right. So, whenever there is an neg edge, this flip flop is going to trigger, okay, right. So, as you can observe, initially it was 0 and when at the neg edge it got triggered to what? It got triggered to 1, and at this particular neg edge again it went for 0. So, you can observe the same this thing. So, 2 times it got triggered. Now, you can observe there is one more clock. This clock is being fed as, this output is being fed as an input clock for this particular flip flop, and we can observe at neg edge it got triggered. In the similar fashion, the fourth flip flop will be triggered. Okay. So, now let us look in terms of main this thing. Now, here you can observe all these flip flops are triggered only at the neg edge of clock. Okay. So, at neg edge of clock all the flip flops are triggered, and you can see here at initial condition it is 0 0 0 0, and at next 0 0 0 1 and 0 0 1 0 0 0 1 1, right. So, this particular counter is acting like what? It is going to be acting like a up counter, which is counting from 0 0 0 0 to 1 1 1 1. Okay. So, now we have decided, we have come to know that for this ripple carry adder I need 4 T flip flops. Now, if you observe our main block diagram, a ripple carry counter was what? It was having 2 inputs, that is one is clock and one more is reset, and then 4 outputs, that is going to be what? Q0, Q1, Q2 and then Q3. We were not knowing what was there actually inside. The whole ripple carry counter was made up of what? It was made up of 4 flip flops. Those flip flops are what? Those flip flops are T flip flops. But I have only a D flip flop with me, I do not have a T flop. So, from D flop I need to derive what? I need to derive my T flip flop. How can we derive that? The T flip flop can be derived from a D flip flop if I connect the output of a D flop to an inverter, and that inverter's output I am going to connect it to D. So, this is how I can come up with what? I can come up with a T flip flop. Now, here you can observe at the end I have ended with what? I have been ended with my one D flop and one inverter. So, I am at the last stage now, that is what? Leaf cell stage. Here I have been in terms of what? Gates and flip flops. So, I can call it as what? I can call it as I have been at the stage of leaf cell. Now, this is how we are going to derive my T flop. Now, let us try to understand how to do this in terms of top down approach. So, if you want in terms of top down approach, first I will be having what? A ripple carry counter. For a ripple carry counter, I need what? I need flip flops, that is T flip flops. How many I need? I need 4 different types of T flops, right. So, these 4 different types of flip flops, but I do not have T flip flop. So, I have a D flop with me. So, I need to convert that D flop in terms of what? It should act like a T flip flop, right. So, how can I convert this T flop into a, how can I convert my D flop into a T flip flop? I will be using one D flop and one inverter. So, this T flop will be what? It is in terms of D flip flop and then inverter. This is what? This is your leaf cell. Okay. So, from leaf cell we have come to a sub module, and then from sub module we have achieved our main module. So, and you can observe this, first I have taken my main module. From this main module I came to know that T flip flops are being used. How many? That is going to be 4, and I have derived 4 T flip flops. From T flip flop I came to know that I have only a D flop and an inverter. So, from this I have derived my D flop, and from inverter I have derived this T flop. Okay. So, this is how the approach is. Now, if you can observe, from a ripple carry we have come to T flop, and from T flop we have come to D and then inverter. The approach, you can see that I am going in terms of top to bottom. Okay. So, from top to bottom I have come like this. I can call it as what? Top down approach. Now, if I do not had this ripple carry counter, so I was having only D flop and inverter. From D flop and inverter I need what? I need to come up with T flop. From T flop I need to come up with ripple carry counter. If I have started with the items what I am having, okay, from this item I am approaching my ripple carry counter. See, here the approach is from the items what I am having, I am going to achieve my ripple carry counter. So, this is what we call, from this what we can call it as, from bottom we are approaching our main module, I can call it as what? Bottom up approach. So, if you go to any industries or if you go to any companies, we will be using either a top down approach or a bottom up approach, that is based on the what are the requirements which are available in the company. Okay. I hope that all of you have understood what is a top down approach and a bottom up approach. So, in the next class these are the 2 different design methodologies. Okay. So, from the next class we shall look into what? We shall look into what are the modules, what are instances, and then what are the different components which are required for simulation. Okay. So, why actually these modules are used, what are the instances which are available, why we call those particular things as instances, that all discussion will be done in the next class. Thank you.